Here today, we're going to be talking about a social crisis, a crisis of humanity that is has been underway for the last, we'll say, 80 years. We'll call it 80 years. When in the West we started to rely on love as a foundation for marriage. Love as a primary foundation for marriage has resulted in more divorces and an increasing rate of divorce in the United States, specifically, and Western nations. And this is destructive to society, it's destructive to children, and it's one of the greatest tragedies that I have been a part of, that I have witnessed in my entire life. And so, most of you guys who are watching when this gets posted have been conditioned to marry someone and divorce them. Point blank. You are encouraged to marry so that you can divorce. You don't even know it. And it starts with, ooh, I'm in love with her. Let's get married. Ooh, I'm in love with him. Let's get married. One of the worst bases of marriage you could ever imagine. Now, there are people who are on their divine design path where God is like, marry that person, like with Candace Owens. I love her story with her husband. She knew in 28 days or something like that, okay, that's going to be my husband. He knew in the same amount of time, that's going to be my lady. So I like stories like that. Now we'll see how it goes. They have lots of children together. They're Christian. They're devoted to their faith. It sounds like he's a man of the cloth, not the cloth, but he's a man of faith. And so marriages like that are unique and they're rare, to be honest. But their marriage is more akin to what marriage used to be a long time ago. They were drawn together by a calling from God. God said, you guys need to be together. The same thing is true of Patrick David um, and Wesley Huff, some other big names in the world of uh, online, YouTube, internet, that sort of a thing. So it's a really interesting thing to see. It's a beautiful thing to see. And like I said, most people who get married in the United States specifically are conditioned to marry just long enough to get divorced, to have children and then to get divorced. And it is by design. It is not an accident. It is something that is done by design. So today we're going to be talking about marriage, um, specifically the causes, the mainstream solutions, and then the geopolitical Christian solutions. I'm going to quickly jump in the chat before I get into the video. We got 11 viewers. Guys, like, share, subscribe, comment below. 11 viewers at 11:02. Hello, Lohith. Welcome. Konga. All right. It's Ryan Plays. Hi, welcome. It's Ryan Plays. So, let me know in the chat if you are married, divorced, widowed, or single, and you've never been married. If you've never been married, this video is going to save you time, heartache, heartbreak, money, it's sanity, everything. Marrying the wrong person will destroy your life, hands down. There is nothing else to be said about that, period. Full stop. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, it will destroy your life, especially if children are involved. Especially if children are involved. Because naturally, you are going to have a deep love for your children, and you are willing to do anything for them. That includes sleeping in a car. That includes going to jail, so they're not left without parents. They're so, especially men. You're going to do so many things, and the social structure is gynocentric. It's vagina based. So when it comes to children, they're almost always hands down going to give the children to the mother, and so uh, it's really an awful set of things, and it is a social crisis. It's a human crisis, a crisis of humanity. That Christian marriages make up the vast majority of all divorces uh, in the United States, which is just insane. There was a 2016 study. Evangelical Protestant Christians made up the highest divorce rates in the nation. Another one done in 2021 and 2022, CDC and the Pew Research Group, 2022 Pew study done in 2021, CDC did a study. And approximately, it was 51% of participants were divorcing participants were evangelical Christian, Protestant Christians. 28%, excuse me, 28 51% divorce rate in the study, and 28% of those Christians that reported were evangelical Christians. The 2021 study, Catholics made up the lowest mainstream Christian divorce rate, and the CDC, oh, sorry, LDSs, which are like an offshoot, but they're still Christians, only made up 7%. Only 7%, excuse me, of the LDS participants had reported divorce or were shown to be divorced. Jehovah's Witness were about 12% of the 244 participants. And the non-religious, the godless heathens, joking, were only at 11%. So evangelical Protestant Christians made up 28%, had a 28% divorce rate, which is astronomical, is insane. It's higher than the overall average for any religious group and for people in general. So that is alarming. Now, they said the reasons for that is a change in standards, the feminist movement. That's a big part of it. Marriage for love. I mean, that started in like the 1930s and 40s. And you'll see marriage in the 1930s and 40s, Protestant Christians made up about 70% of the American population at the time. Right now, Protestant Christians are only, I think, 50% of the population. But our numbers are, and I say are because I grew up Protestant Christian, our numbers of divorce are insane. They're almost at 30% or more. In one study, it was like 33%. So anyway, they said the causes of these divorces are a change in standards, pressure from the outside in marriages. That could be affairs, these sorts of things. Let me jump in the chats. Hello, sir. Okay, everybody's leaving because they want to say all this fucking shit. Guys, stay on topic. If you're not, I'm just going to get rid of you. All right. Hello. Thank you so much. No, I'm not from Zambia, but thank you for the question. Kisala. No, but thank you. I don't have any ancestry from Zambia either. Hello, can I ask you something? Okay. At least say something. All right. If you're here for the talk, then like the marriage stuff and stay on topic. Otherwise, get out of the chat. I don't care. All right. Because if you are from Zambia, the time is 21:04. Okay. Thank you. All right. What's happening here? What's your love life, bro? Okay. Thank you, Ankt Singh. Me Ankit Singh. What's your love life? My love life is dedication to God and focusing on getting where I want to go in life so that I can have more options. I do not want to be limited to the options that are available to me at this moment. I like a certain type of woman, and that means I having to travel to access those kinds of women. So right now in the United States, I'm not really interested. I don't actually have a love life or a sex life right now, and I'm completely uninterested in one overall. Okay. Thank you for that question, Ankit Singh. That's kind of on topic. All right. So getting back to the topic, the subject matter, and thank you for the likes, everyone who's liking. So the causes for divorce among evangelical Protestant Christians, who make up the highest rate of divorce, and that you will find websites that say no, evangelical Christians only at 26%, and the national average is 33%. Complete fucking bullshit, because those are 2008 studies. We're in 2024 or 2025. The most recent study, 2023, 2022, shows that evangelical Christians are killing it in divorce, and that is a crisis. That's not good. Okay, so the changing standards, i.e., feminism, women's lib, uh, sex positivity, all these things are destroying marriage. They're also destroying the happiness rates of women and men and children. The pressure from outside sources, whether it's affairs, whether it's society, whatever. Uh, uh, Bible interpretation among Protestant Christians. The husband has one interpretation, the wife has another. Incompatibility, that's easily fixed prior to marriage. Once you're in marriage, you're fucked. And then financial distress. Financial distress is a huge thing. Now, the pressure from outside, that I didn't read the study in depth, so I am assuming that it has to do with sexual pressures from the outside, like affairs, things like that. And again, that's easily fixed. Again, I'm going to go into the solutions later. So the mainstream solutions are people who had long-standing marriages that were Protestant Christians, and Christians in general, Catholics, LDS, all of that. They took their faith seriously. They weren't just I'm a Christian nominally. If you're just a nominal Christian, don't be a Christian. Be a godless heathen. Okay, just leave the church completely. Give them your church Christian card and move on. Then so the solutions were they were seriously Christian. Okay, they were actually going to church regularly. They were praying together. They were reading the Bible together. And I can tell you from my own experience, growing up, when my parents were having worship, we were having worship regularly, we were reading the Bible regularly, we were going to church every Sabbath, every Saturday Sabbath, because we were Seventh-day Adventists. Their marriage had its challenges, but they didn't go through that significant break and divorce. It's when the church um, the church the less attendance of church was a symptom of something deeper. The study's not doing a good job of reporting that, but I'm able to qualitatively identify that when people stop going to church, it's a symptom, it's not a cause, and the study is failing to be able to identify that. So in this video, I'm going to actually talk about the real solutions and the real causes. All right, again, the chat before we go into real solutions and real causes. All right. Let's see here. Love Live. Okay, H. Tuttle. I'm the only one here. A little bit of leaven. Leaven's the whole lump. Yeah, thank you, H. Tuttle. All right, thanks for being in the chat. Hey, KB700. Happy to see you again. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're talking about the high divorce rates among evangelical Protestant Christians and among Christians in general. Catholics have a lower divorce rate because Catholics do Christianity a little better than Protestants. I would like to see what the Orthodox divorce rates are. I would imagine they are extremely low because in Orthodox Christianity, you don't just marry for love, which is the worst reason to marry. It's 11:11, guys. Send a prayer up, send some gratitude up. Very few people are enjoying this talk, but I care about it. It's very important to me. So I'm going to still fucking talk about it. All right. Because divorce is one of the most destructive things to society. It destroys children, it destroys men, it destroys women, it destroys humanity. All right. And especially the way the divorce is done in the West. You know, men are taken through, castrated, taking their money away, the kids are taking all this other bullshit stuff. And men like me who refuse to go with the bullshit, you know, I have my solutions. I'm gonna put it that way. God is guiding me. All right, so let's talk about geopolitical Christian solutions. Have you in the chat ever been divorced or married or widow? Let me know in the chat. Thank you guys for the likes. That is awesome. I'm loving the likes. Keep it going. But have you been married? Have you been divorced? Have your parents were they married? Are they still married? Are they divorced? Let me know in the chats below. All right, let's get right into it. So there are 5 geopolitical solutions um, to divorce. The first thing is prevention. Okay, before I even get into this, the best solution to divorce is prevention. Okay, and we're going to talk about the preventative solutions. Arranged marriage is number 1. Arranged marriage will drop the divorce rate from, it's like 51%. It's like really high. It'll drop that down to probably less than 10% because it's arranged marriage. And we already know what we're getting into. Okay, when you're getting into an arranged marriage, you're not marrying for a stupid reason like love. Love is the dumbest reason, um, because love is it love? Is it infatuation? Is it lust? Is it obsession? Is it possessive? Is it like all these people use the L word to describe all those things? In reality, that's not what it is. It's not love. It's either obsession, it's stupidity, it's horniness, it's, oh, we haven't had sex yet and we accidentally had sex and we got pregnant and now we got to get married. Okay, don't do that. All right, so arranged marriage is one of the big solutions to that because in arranged marriage, you have elders in the community, like in Orthodox Christianity, that know how you operate. They say, okay, Johnny has a hot temper. Sally is a very calm girl. She comes from a calm family. Johnny comes from a hot family, but they're ambitious. They're going to be successful. Put Johnny and Sally together. She's going to be calm and submissive. He's going to be ambitious. He's going to go out there and get things. And when he screams and loses his shit, which is just how they've been bred in Johnny's family, she's going to know how to throw water on that fire and knock it out. But Susie over there is a mouthy, crazy girl. She's going to go in the family with Johnny and he's going to knock the shit out of her. And then it's going to be domestic violence. And then it's going to be, the kid's going to be traumatized. The family's going to be traumatized. And it's going to be bad. So Johnny and Susie don't need to marry. Doesn't matter how much they're in love right now because they're stupid and horny. we need to make sure they don't get married. Okay. And so elders in the community can make that determination. They can see you better than you can see yourself, especially when you're young and horny. Like, young, dumb, and full of cum is the most brilliant statement ever made about young people. I was in my 20s before I lost my virginity. I was in my early mid 20s before I lost my virginity. Period. Like, I wasn't kissing. I was like, I kissed one girl. I held hands with a couple girls throughout my life, but there was no grinding. There was none of that. There was no even close to being sexual with anybody for me. And so when I married my ex, she had far more sexual experience than I did. Okay. Now, that was foolish. I was marrying to help her with her situation because she had a legal situation that our marriage should have helped that and never did. Um, and also wanted to be close to her. And I was also finally having sex. And it was like, I'm only going to be married to this person. She's beautiful. I love her. Whatever, right? Worst reason to get married ever. She was smarter than I was. I was much dumber than her. Again, I was young, dumb, and full of cum. I should have waited 10 years. An arranged marriage, somebody would have looked and said, hey, dude, you have a certain sexual proclivities. Don't marry this girl because it's going to be a prison for you. And you're going to be frustrated. You're an ambitious person. You're very passionate, very enthusiastic. Don't marry this girl. Okay. And they would have stopped the marriage. My parents tried to say, hey, you're kind of getting married a little bit young, a little bit fast, but I was too stupid. I was just dumb. Okay. Again, young, dumb, full of cum. And so arranged marriages helps to prevent the young, dumb, full of cum marriage style, which you see a lot among evangelical Christians. They have this approach like, let's see. Yeah. This is like nobody watching this. Fuck you guys. I'm going to still make this video. In the evangelical church, there are all of these young people that are like virgins, abstinent, all of that stuff. And it's the worst way to go about it. If you're going to do that, let someone smarter than you, older than you, wiser than you choose your partner, help you choose your partner. Because obviously, you're not going to marry someone you absolutely abhor. You're not going to marry someone you hate, right? That's stupid. In arranged marriage, they're going to bring someone to you. You're going to bring Sally to Johnny. Say, Johnny, here's Sally. What do you think about her? And Johnny's like, I don't like her nose. I think she smells bad. I don't want anything to do with her. Okay, next. Here's Karen. What do you think about Karen? Okay, Karen is great. Whatever. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Or Karen, meet Johnny. What do you think about him? Oh, he's broke and he comes from a family of losers. I don't want anything to do with him. All right, next. Right? So arranged marriage is not forced on you, but it's presented to you. And you, if you look at the Hindus, look at the people in India, look at Orthodox Christians, you're not forced to marry the person that's presented to you, but you are presented with a person that the elders in the community, the smarter people in the community, the older, wiser people in the community who have a lot of value can say, you know what, these kids would make a good mix. They are going to make strong, healthy kids. They're going to bring together these two families and they're going to build our community. They're going to build our empire. The elders of the community want to give back. They have years of wisdom. Arranged marriage will completely, that's the biggest solution to the divorce rate, which destroys children and destroys families and destroys society. It completely destroys society. It leads to crime. It leads to child abuse. It leads to trauma. It leads to a lot of awful, terrible things. Okay? Let's jump in the chat real quick. We got 2 people watching. Oh, there's nobody putting anything in the chat. So we'll keep going. So the second solution to the high divorce rate, which is destroying humanity and society, is rational selfishness when choosing a partner. Men especially need to be better about picking women. Don't pick a woman that's just good in the bed. Okay, that's going to lead into our third solution. Okay, which I'll go into prostitution, which is very important. But men, stop picking women based on the fact you got to use your head up here. Don't use your lower head. And so many men, man, are just they're horny. Let's be honest. They're horny, especially Christian men. Christian men have lied to themselves, and the church has been gynophied, vaginicized, gynophilically affiliated. I'm making these words up. They're not real words. But the church has been gynocentrically led over the last 50 years since the feminist movement. And what has happened is male sexuality, male desire has been vilified, demonized, and uh like turned into this thing that's demonic. It's like male sexual desire and drive is good and right and worthy and all that stuff. It's just it has to be in a container. It can't just be willy-nilly thrown out into the world. It'll be destructive in that way. And so what happened in the church is women have been put on a pedestal and men have been turned into, oh, he's a dog and he's bad for he had an affair, he's a bad guy. Well, does he remember the name of the woman he had sex with? Does he even care about her? Does he even talk to her really? No. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. All right, that's gonna get a number 3. But rational selfishness, especially for men, is super important. Women are already smarter when it comes to selecting partners, generally because of hypergamy. They pick partners that are better than them. Women just select better partners. This is what they do. They're naturally better at that. But they failed in the last 30, 40 years. Men have been failing for about 70 years. So rational selfishness in selecting a partner will prevent awful, awful, awful divorce. And what that means is, as a man, you're going to check in with men that are your mentors. You're going to check in with women that are your mentors, older women, older men. And you got to check in with people that you actually trust. This may not be your parents. This may not be your pastor. This may not be your teacher or professor or coach. It may be someone that you're just, an older guy who's gone in life where you want to go, and he's got a good relationship. He's got good money. And you're like, yo, I want to do what you're doing. How'd you do it? You check in with him. You take your girlfriend to him first. Don't take him to your fucked up parents who got divorced necessarily. I mean, you want to take them to your parents, honor your mother and father. But you've got to be selfish. Don't think about her. If the girl's crying because you're going to break up with her, and you don't like the way she smells, or you don't like the way she talks, or you get really angry when she says or does certain things and you're dating, you're stupid if you marry her, and you deserve all the terrible things that come to you later. Obviously, God is good. He'll forgive you. He will give you grace and heal you of all your iniquities, just like He's healed me of mine, and He is still healing me of mine. Who keeps trying to contact me? But the thing is, um, you've got to be selfish. You've got to put yourself first. And I'm speaking specifically to young men. Be selfish, 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 selfish. And if you're not selfish enough, be even more selfish. But it has to be rational selfish. Don't be the dumbass selfish where you just treat women like shit, because that's not selfish. That's stupid. That's self-destructive. All right. So rational selfishness. That means choosing a woman, not a female. Don't ever marry a female, but choose a woman that is going to match with your life goals and is going to align with that and is going to help push you in that direction. If you're dating a girl that's like a 9 and you've never dated a 9 before, 9 on the attractiveness scale, she's super hot, she's smells good, everybody looks at her when you guys walk together, um, she's got a great body and all this stuff, but she's not kind. She dashes your dreams. She doesn't treat you with respect, and constantly fights you. Drop her today. If you're dating her right now, it's 11:22. This is a message from God. Dump her ass, like now. Find a way to do it kindly. Find a way to do it professionally, whatever. Leave her today. Okay? If you have any functioning brain in your head, you need to leave her now. Find a woman. Look, she could be a 7 through a 9, 7 to an 8 or whatever, right? But she's kind. She's respectful. She supports you in your dreams. And she also has her own life. She has her own goals. She has her own pursuits. That's the kind of woman you want on your side. That's the second solution. You got to be rationally selfish and choosing your partner. Now, the third solution goes back to what I was saying about churches. Churches are gynocentric. Okay. Why? Because if you can get a bunch of females to get married quickly to men they don't need to marry, and get pregnant by these men, and then have a bunch of babies by these men, and then divorce these men, well, guess what? These broken females and these broken children are going to come to your church until the kids realize the bullshit of your church and leave when they're teenagers. But they'll keep coming to your church, keep putting money into your offering plate. The Lord's going to bless you. Give a tithe today if you believe God's going to bless you. And you're going to keep just... Women are the easiest people to manipulate when it comes to like money. Think about all of the makeup stuff in the store and the clothing stuff. Like, I shop with women all the time, and I can tell you they're out there buying stuff emotionally. Men buy things rationally typically, but most women buy things emotionally. And that's why women, are so easily misled. And the church does that as well. It does that to women. And so um, churches have geared their message to praise women and put women on a pedestal. And it keeps women coming back. It keeps women destroying their marriages, women creating most of the divorces, all that stuff, leaving children without fathers, using the state to separate children from fathers, yada 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 yada. Okay, I'm beating a dead horse. So the third solution to that is uh, going back to it. Oh, let me say this first. Men are demonized. The men's sexuality is demonized, and that's how they put women on a pedestal. So men's sexuality, when a man has an affair, he's considered super sinful, even though he hasn't had sex with his wife in like 5 years, or 3 years, or 2 years, or 1 year. And he just goes has sex with some woman on the side he met at a club or something like that. And she's a clear harlot. I mean, the church is lots of harlots in the church. And he has an affair with some single woman that's a spinster. And, and now the church is mad at him and they want to kick him out because he had an affair. And then they take the woman into their arms. Oh, he hurt you. He did you wrong. No, he didn't, bitch. You weren't having sex with him. So, like, get over it. You messed up. He didn't really mess up. And this is where we get into the third solution: ethical prostitution and civilized harlotry. Ethical prostitution, in the instances of, in the study, in the research study, it said pressure from the outside. And did a good job of like really defining that. I'm gonna have to go back and read the study more in depth to look at the statistics for that. But sexual pressure from the outside in these marriages can be alleviated by ethical prostitution and civilized harlotry. Now, when you hear the word prostitution, if you can't get your head out of selling women on the street and abusing women, then you're a savage, and I don't want anything to do with you. But ethical prostitution is like an objective reality, and it's an obvious solution. Ethical prostitution is no different from a pharmacy or a clinic where you go to get a flu shot. Okay, you would have spas established, women that work at these, because 90% of the prostitutes in the world, but it's like 95% of women. Duh. Um, so the women that work in these facilities, these spas, are licensed, trained, educated, protected, health screenings regularly. They have insurance, they have education, they have all these things, and they have access to law enforcement for support for crazy men, because crazy men exist, obviously, right? And so ethical prostitution means these are women that are choosing this industry. Not only would this help with that pressure from the outside, sexual pressure. If a woman is just like not sexual after having kids, which happens in marriage, it happens and it's okay. You don't gotta force her or psychological, like, get her to be sexual again. Leave her alone. Like, she don't want to have sex, just leave her alone. Like, I'm really big on consent, and geopolitical Christianity is huge on consent. If a woman in a relationship after 2 to 3 years, 2 to 5 years is like, I'm done, I don't want to have sex anymore, but once a month, once a week, fine. That's where you have ethical prostitution and civilized harlotry. And these women work in an industry, and they also don't want to be married. They don't want to raise kids. They don't want any of that stuff. And they don't have skills outside of sex. They don't have skills outside of that. And so they would thrive in this industry, and they would be protected. They would be trained, and they would have all kinds of things that would help them to deal with the psychological pressures of being a prostitute. Now, any industry is going to have psychological pressures. Being a doctor has psychological pressures. Being a therapist has that. Being a construction worker. Any job is going to have psychological pressures. So to say that women that are prostitutes have psychological pressures is, greater than anybody else is stupid. Because all industries have psychological pressures. Being an underwater basket weaver has psychological pressures. You got to deal with sharks, and you got nightmares of sharks. Who knows? But every industry has psychological pressures, and functioning brain people understand that. And so prostitution is no different. And so if you can mitigate the risk, the psychological risk, the emotional risk, the spiritual risks of that, just as any other industry, then you can create harmony. And that would take sexual pressure off of women in marriages who don't want to have sex. Okay, no woman should ever have to have sex, and that's just hands down. If a woman doesn't want to do it, she shouldn't have to do it. All right, so that's the third solution to these divorces: get rid of that external pressure from sex and get ethical prostitution or civilized harlotry into the mix. Okay. The fourth solution is, again, this is moving out of the, well, this is still preventative, all right, is change marriage for love lie. We've got to get rid of the marriage for love lie. Stop marrying someone solely based on love. I'm in love with them, and that's going to get married. Okay, guess what? Wasn't it Earth, Wind, and Fire? After the love is gone, what used to be right is wrong, right? Everything that used to be lovely and used to be beautiful and used to be pleasant, you hate now. You used to like the way she smacked her food. Now you want to just pull your hair out after 2 years. Okay? Now, being an adult, you understand that this is just part of human relationships. Things get annoying. People get annoying. We all have that. We get annoyed with ourselves in our relationship with ourselves. So just imagine being with someone else. So, but in arranged marriage, when you're rationally selfish, you're picking the right person. Um, you understand those challenges initially. You understand, look, I'm marrying this woman because she meets these objectives. Okay? And these are the objectives that I have in my outcomes in life. You've done a life review. You said, this is where I want to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Okay? And so, sorry, 5 years. I'll remember. And so, in being rationally selfish, you already know, okay, I'm choosing this person because of their, excuse me, intrinsic value to my outcomes. Not because I'm in love with them, because love does blind you. And it's not really love, it's actually lust. Let's call it what it really is. You love your children, you love your grandmother, you love your parents, right? You don't necessarily love the person you're stooping in the bed. You have lust for them, and that often gets conflated. And so there's a lot of this like, oh, I'm in love with this person. The truth is you just want to fuck their brains out. And then after that blows away after 2.5, 3 years because you've been abstinent, you've been being chased and saving yourself from marriage. Then you realize, okay, I hate this person. I don't like anything about them. And by the way, they spend money in a way that I think is egregious. They're abusive to the children, in my opinion, because they may not be abusive. You just don't like the fact that they treat the children a certain way. And so, now you're stuck. Now you got children. And if you divorce this person, now you got other human beings whose lives are ruined by the divorce. So we've got to get rid of love as a basis for marriage. It's a lie in society and in religion. And when you have rational selfishness and moral objectivity, you're actually able to be much more intelligent in selecting a partner. You're going to know your desires and needs, and you're going to know if they fit into your desires and needs. You're going to get sex out of the way. You're going to realize, okay, if sex in this marriage dies, but this person is the best person for me, for my family, for my mom and dad, my cousins, my sister, all of them, and for us building our empire together, then you're going to say, you know what? If the sex dies, I can go down to the spa, and I can have a mistress. And you don't have to go to the spa, like the public gym. You can just have a mistress, right? A mistress is that's part of the rational selfish. That's part of the ethical prostitution and civilized harlotry. Because with mistresses, they don't have to last forever. You can have a mistress for 5 years, for 10 years, whatever, and then she's like, you know what? This was great, but I finished my doctorate, and I don't want to be a harlot anymore. I want to go get my career. I want to go be a professional woman now, and I actually want to get married. And you say, okay, well, you have a past, and whoever marries you, they're just gonna have to deal with that. And that's just how that goes. So, yeah, we have to get love out of the picture of marriage. Love should be one of the 10 things, but it should not be the top 5. There are other things that have to fit into place. Compatibility, spiritual compatibility. Are you guys have the same goals in the long term? Do you guys have a similar communication style so you actually understand each other without having to talk too much? These sorts of things. So those things should all come first. Love should be like in the top 10, but not in the top 5. And that will lead to a better marriage long term. Okay? And then number 5. I know this is long, but this is something I'm passionate about. 11:33, y'all. It's a very important time. Honor honor the natures and socialization of males and females so that women and men can harmoniously marry. We have to honor the natures of men and the natures of women. Men and women have different natures. They have different ways of, they're designed differently. And men and women are also socialized differently. And so there are women that are very like masculine in the sense of like they're externally um, oriented. That's what masculine is. It's the stone principle. It's externally oriented. And then there are men that are feminine in the sense of they're internally oriented. Okay? And so they have to be matched up with a compatible partner. You have to honor the overall nature of men. Men tend to be more masculine. Women tend to be more feminine. Okay? But we have to honor the fact that men are more masculine. And we have to set up systems like arranged marriages for ambitious men versus more laid back men, or marriages for women that are more submissive and light and they don't want to work really hard. So you need to match them up with men that are ambitious, that can go out there and conquer the world. But at the same time, laid back, lazy dudes that just want to sit around all day and be with the kids, you got to match them up with women that are like CEOs and all that. So we have to honor the nature and socialization of men and women, and that will lead to more harmonious marriages. And that's why arranged marriage is so important. All right, and the number six, since this one's not as popular, like people don't want to save themselves from hell, from suffering, probably because there's a bunch of kids watching this. God bless it. Anyways, this is just going over everyone's head. Fuck whatever, who cares? Okay, so um, contracts. Number six. I said it was a five, but I realized this is a sixth one. Marriage should be a temporal contract, a temporary contract. And I would say that a marriage, one of the ways to prevent divorce is that you should have a like a 2-year contract, a 3-year contract, a 5-year contract, a 10-year contract, a 30-year contract, kind of like a mortgage or anyway, a job contract or something like that. If you're selecting a wife or a husband, you're selecting someone who needs to prove themselves as valuable to you. I would highly recommend not to have offspring until the 3rd to 5th year of marriage. You know, if you're marrying because you got pregnant, obviously, I mean, that's a terrible basis of marriage. An arranged marriage is a better basis, okay? And you know, with those marriages, you're always going to be resentful and you're going to hate the kids and all of this stuff. If you have a terrible marriage, if you were lucky, you're going to be fine. But you get a good person and you're just lucky. God took care of you. But God doesn't take care of everybody like that because not everybody's ready for it, receiving of it. So a contractual marriage structure in which marriages are temporary, meaning, okay, I am marrying Sally because I think she aligns with my goals. We have a 2-year contract. At the end of that 2 years, if I see that she still aligns with my goals and I still align with her goals, we will renew the contract for another 5 years. Okay? At the end of that 5 years, if children are in that 5-year additional contract, that's year 7, sex is still good, connection is still good, communication is amazing. This is from least important to most important. The children, we have healthy children together, and we are financially strong and growing. Well, then we're going to renew that contract for 10 years, right? And once children are in the marriage, I think that you shouldn't have any contract shorter than 15 to 20 years because you need to have those children in a marriage contract. And I think that divorce in those in those sorts of marriages, when there's offspring involved, should be really difficult to get. Okay. Barring abuse. If someone cheats on you, I don't think you should be able to get a divorce for that. I mean, like, I, listen, I had in my marriage, there were other people involved very early on. I knew about it and I was okay with it. I was like, look, you do you. Our sexuality is probably not working. I don't even know where I sit on the sexual spectrum. Do you? Okay? And I was okay with that. And I'm not saying that everybody should be like me, but I feel like we put more emphasis on what someone does with their genitals than what happens overall in our lives, like in the bigger scheme of things. Oh, my marriage partner allowed their genitals to touch that person's genitals, and so I'm going to destroy the kid's life. I'm going to put us through all this divorce because of that. I didn't care. It was 2 years into the marriage, and I was like, I don't care. So go do your thing. Like, if that makes you happy, just don't bring diseases home and don't bring a child home that's not mine. Okay. So um, it is what it is. So one of the final and sixth thing that will solve this is contractual marriages, marriages that are based on 5 years. Oh, Scott is back. I'm back from yesterday. Thank you, Scott. Sorry, I'm just going on a tirade on the sixth thing here. We're talking about the five solutions, geopolitical solutions to the destructive divorce rate, which is destroying children, destroying marriages, destroying men, destroying women, destroying society. And Christians, evangelical Christians, are the biggest perpetrators of it, unfortunately. And we got to change that. We got to change that. So, um, anyway, so the last solution, the sixth solution, was contracts that are temporary. That will help people to decide. Because look, after 2, 3 years of marriage, like you date for 2 or 3 years, and then you're married for like 2 years, whatever. After a while, you start to like, okay, my husband travels all the time, and we've been married for 2 years. Obviously, he doesn't want anything to do with you unless he's taking you on the trips with him or coming back home all the time, spending extra money just to be with your beautiful self. Then you need to break up. That's not a marriage unless you like that, unless that works for you guys. Like if it's genuinely good for you guys and it feels good for you guys, then great. But if you're longing for him and he's gone all the time, divorce in the contract, especially before kids show up. Obviously, okay. So anyway, these are the six geopolitical Christian solutions to the deadly divorce epidemic, pandemic in Christianity. Christians divorcing is destroying planet Earth, is destroying humanity. So the six solutions are arranged marriage, elders community, pick your partners because they know you and your family and all that stuff and your partner better than you know yourself. Because when you're young, dumb, full of cum, you don't know anything. Unless you're married after 30, which nobody's doing that because women, they women like they need to be having babies in their 20s. Some ethnicities can have babies later on, like Marian people or black people. Marian, they can have we Marian people we can have babies later on longer. Uh, Certain Eastern European ethnicities can have babies really late. Like Slavic women are very strong. They can have babies in their 40s and 50s and be fine. Um, Asians are okay. Latinos are okay. But like some ethnic groups, certain ethnic groups which I won't name, like y'all got to be having babies in your 20s and have a lot of them. Like 25 to like 29. Don't have babies after 32. All right? Because those are the people getting all the IVF. They need that shit. Have them when you're young. Okay? Get all that shit out of the way. All right. So anyway, we'll go over the numbers. I keep going off on the tirade. So arranged marriage, older members of the community help to pick your younger. And by the way, let me do a seventh one. Oh my God. Bless it. Lord, I know this was a little bit off, Lord, and be with me on this one. The seventh one is older men marry younger women, please. Because young women, like older women marrying younger men or same age is awful because she's not going to respect you. You're the same age. Why should she look up to you? You don't have any wisdom on her unless you're super duper wealthy. But even then, she's your same age. It doesn't make sense. Age difference. I don't think many people are watching this now, but a bunch of people may watch it later. Who cares? I'm gonna put it out there. The seventh thing is age difference. Obviously, women are hypergamous. And men are hyperandrous, but nobody ever talks about the hyperandry because the progressives don't have brains. They don't think about this stuff. But the red pill right wing people are like hypergamy, hypergamy, hyper. Women are hypergamous. They try to shame women for that, and you should never shame a woman for her nature. Like that's good. Women are supposed to be hypergamous. That's actually important. We need women to be hypergamous. If they're not hypergamous, humanity is done. So, um, because women have a hypergamous nature, they want to look up to the man that they are having children with. They want to be able to trust him. They need security, love, and stability. And so, if you're broke, you can't provide them security or stability. Okay, that's that. If you're mean, you're not loving, so they don't need to stay with you. And if you are low status or below her, then she can't look up to you. So like she doesn't need to be with you. You don't deserve her, which is a horrible thing to say, but it's true. You don't deserve her. All right. So age difference is important because older men marrying younger women means the younger woman is naturally going to look up to him. She's going to naturally respect him. She's naturally going to admire him if he's if she lets him, if she chooses him, if she lets him choose her. And so age difference is the seventh thing. Getting back to it. So here are the 7 solutions to divorce. I'm gonna probably keep this video private because I'm just blasting everybody right now. It is arranged marriage will solve divorce. Like it'll knock it down to less than 10%. I can predict that. Uh, Rational selfishness will prevent marrying someone who's an obvious candidate for divorce in 5 to 10 years. Ethical prostitution and civilized harlotry will get rid of external pressures for men, and it will return masculine sexuality to society in a healthy way. And if you think that prostitution is bad, that's because you have a savage idea of prostitution. You have to have an elevated, civilized version of prostitution, which is obvious solution. Because medicine used to be of the devil back in the day, and you just have to have a civilized version of medicine. No snake oil. You have to have real medications, real treatments. Duh, right? So you have real prostitution, real harlotry. Duh, real mistresses. Okay, and then the fourth is get rid of love as a basis for marriage. Love should not be the top 5 reasons for marriage. It should be within the top 10. All right, and then 5, honor the nature of women as hypergamous. Honor the nature of men as polygamous. All right, honor those natures in the hypergamy. I'm gonna make another video and polygamy. Yeah, and ignore Jordan Peterson. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to polygamy. It's just better for society. And then number 6 is contracts. We need temporary contracts that will get rid of this married until death, right? And don't have kids within the first 2 to 3 year contract. I think that should nullify the contract, and children should become wards of the state if you have them within 2 to 3 years, unless your female wife is like 28 years old. She probably needs to have kids like soon, especially if you're from the 2 or 3 ethnicities I'm thinking about, which I won't name. You know who you are because you have to get IVF. So your numbers of IVF are higher than any other ethnicity. So you know who you are. And then number 7 is age difference. Older man with younger women, those marriages last longer and are better because younger women are hypergamous. They're going to look up to a man. An older man's going to be wealthier. He's going to be smarter. He's going to be wiser. He's going to have more social standing. She's going to feel honored to be with him. So she's going to respect him. She's not going to be a bitch. And that's going to work out. Okay. So I'm going to probably keep this one private. Not going to share it with anybody. But I'm going to make a better version of it. So I'm not going to check this one off. We're going to do this later. I got to get to work. Yeah. So thank you for those of you who put likes in the comments, likes in there. And yeah. You guys, if you want to have a happy marriage and not just be with someone who is toxic, because this is the thing, toxic people don't really exist. I'm going to close out with this. Toxic people don't actually exist. Toxic people for you exist because there are people sometimes that we choose that are not aligned with our divine design. They're lions that marry sheep. Don't do that. Lion, marry a lioness. Tiger, marry tigers. Sheep, marry sheepress. Birds should marry birds. Bees should marry bees. Like, we all have natures, and we have to find a person that's best matched to that nature. And so that's what I have to say about that. I'm going to do a better job. See, age difference, social standing. I may have to make a different video for each one of these. Social standing, money, and wisdom. Women need that. Women need men they can look up to. Women need men that they can respect. A woman should not respect you if you're on her level because you're equal. Why would you? I mean, she needs to respect herself by respecting you, because when a woman's respectful to a man, she's respectful to herself. But like, why should a woman ever respect you if you're not better than her? A woman should never respect you. She should never be compelled to respect you if you're not better than her. If you're objectively better than her, financially better than her, socially better than her, mentally better than her, meaning like you have gone to places she has not gone and cannot go, then she should respect you. She's going to look up to you like, oh man, this guy's great. He's Superman, right? No man should ever demand the respect of a woman who's his equal. ever. See, and again, you don't want to marry a woman that's dumb, like a piece of shit or stupid or something, right? You don't want to marry that, but you never want to like compel a woman to have sex with you or respect you when you don't deserve it. When you're not bringing anything to the table. And the guy asked if I was in a relationship. Yeah, no. There's very little I can bring to a woman. I mean, there's a lot I can bring to a woman at this point in my life, but there are certain things I want to be able to bring to the table before I ever get a relationship. So that's one of the reasons I'm not even. I'll look at women and be like, okay, she's cute. I don't even talk to women because they're annoying. And before I commit to one, I just want to be like, okay, she's annoying because she's a female, but she brings all of this value to my life, so I'll put up with it. So anyway, that's why arranged marriages matter. All right, anyway, so that's what I have to say about that. Contracts, no kids within the no kids, 2 to 3 years. All right, yep. Younger women have babies equals babies. Healthy babies. We need healthy babies, y'all. All right, healthy, beautiful little babies. All right. All right, this one was less popular, but I'm going to re-put it out. I'm just going to be nicer to people. All right. That's all I got to say about that, y'all.